Space was silent, as always. But this silence felt wrong. A signal broke through the darkness near the edge of UPD space, crackling, broken, weak. It came from a ship that shouldn't exist anymore. The UPD Horizon, part of the Third Fleet that vanished months ago in the Virili Expanse. The ship looked like a drifting corpse. Its hull was scarred. Lights flickered dimly. It moved slowly, as if limping through the stars. The recovery team docked in silence. What they found haunted them. The crew was gone. Some were dead, their faces twisted in terror. A few were alive, but not really. One officer sat in a corner of the medbay, eyes wide open, whispering the same word again and again. Listen, listen, listen. Another screamed at nothing, trying to claw through the wall. They all showed signs of psychological collapse. Medical scans found no physical damage, only extreme stress and neural disruption. Something had broken them. Admiral Soren watched the debriefing footage from a secure room. She didn't blink once. Across from her sat Commander Alex Voss, hands folded, jaw tight. He didn't flinch as he listened to the screams from the recordings. His eyes stayed fixed on the screen. When the audio cut out, he finally spoke. My sister was on the 6th Fleet, he said. She never came back. Soren nodded. We lost contact with the 6th, 7th, 8th, and every fleet up to the 12th. This, she gestured to the screen, is all we have. One ship. No answers. No survivors we can question. Alex leaned forward. Send me in. I'll lead the 13th. Soren raised an eyebrow. We may be sending you to die. Maybe, Alex said. But if something out there can destroy 12 fleets without a trace, we need to understand it. We need to face it. And I need to know what happened to her. After a long pause, Soren gave a slow nod. Then the 13th Fleet will be yours. You leave in 72 hours. Alex walked through the hangar bay of UPD Valiant, the flagship of the 13th Fleet. Crew members snapped salutes as he passed. He returned them with a nod. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Mara Quinn, met him near the command elevator. Ship's ready, Commander, she said. All 10 vessels are online and crewed. Engineers report full operational status. Alex glanced around at the rows of sleek starfighters and heavy transports. This was no exploration fleet. It was built to fight if needed, but they still didn't know what they were fighting. He looked at Mara. You briefed the crews? Yes, sir. We've kept details quiet. But the rumors are already spreading. They always do. Later that night, Alex sat alone in his quarters. The room was quiet, except for the faint hum of the ship's systems. He stared at an old photo on the wall, him and Liana, younger, laughing, both in cadet uniforms. She had always been the bold one, the first to volunteer, the first to explore. She had gone into the expanse with hope in her eyes. He felt a hollow weight in his chest. I'll bring you home, he whispered, or I'll bring back the truth. The fleet launched the next morning. 10 ships cut through space in a precise formation, engines glowing blue against the endless black. As they approached the edge of known space, Alex stood on the bridge, watching the stars. Ahead, the Virili Expanse waited. It had no planets, no stations, only darkness and a growing sense of dread. Mara stepped beside him. Sir, do you believe what the survivors said? She asked. Alex didn't answer right away. They weren't just scared, he said. They were changed. Something out there didn't just kill our fleets. It reached inside them. He turned to face the void ahead. And now it's waiting for us. The stars began to thin. As the 13th Fleet entered the boundary of the Virili Expanse, the void seemed to stretch wider than before. There were fewer stars, fewer signals, and no planetary bodies. It was like stepping into a place the universe had forgotten. Even light itself seemed dimmer here. Commander Alex Voss stood at the center of the UPD Valiant's bridge, arms behind his back. Around him, officers monitored sensors and communications. Everything looked normal on the surface, but the silence was heavy, unnatural. Status report, Alex said. Lieutenant Mara Quinn tapped through the holographic interface. All ships are holding formation. Comms are stable. No sign of enemy activity or debris. But long-range sensors are glitching slightly, could be radiation or interference from local anomalies. Alex nodded. Tell all ships to log everything. Every scan, every anomaly. I want a complete record. Mara hesitated. Understood, sir. But it feels wrong here. He didn't reply. She was right. It did feel wrong. In the lower decks of the ship, crew members went about their routines. Maintenance checks, power monitoring, life support systems. Everything worked perfectly. But there was unease in the air, like a pressure no one could explain. Ensign Rafe Nolan, just 22 years old and on his first deep space deployment, sat in the mess hall staring at his food. He hadn't touched it. Across from him, another crewmate, Vargas, watched silently. "You okay?" Vargas asked. Rafe blinked. "Yeah, just tired. You look pale." "I had a dream last night," Rafe said quietly. "It felt real." Vargas leaned forward. "What was it?" "I was walking through the ship, but it wasn't the ship. It was empty. Dead. I heard someone calling my name from a room I couldn't find. I woke up shaking." Vargas stared for a moment, then nodded slowly. "I had a dream too. My brother was in it. He died 6 years ago, but he was on the ship, asking me to follow him into the airlock." They didn't say anything more after that. On the bridge, the first real anomaly appeared. "Commander," said Communications Officer Wren, "we're picking up a faint signal. No ID tag. Very weak. Could be one of the missing fleets." Alex walked over. "Put it through." The sound came through the speakers like static at first. Then a low voice, broken and distorted. "Don't come closer. It listens. We're not alone." The message ended abruptly. "Direction?" Alex asked. "Bearing 017. Signals coming from deep inside the expanse. At least 5 light hours from our position." He stared at the display. It was nothing more than a flicker, but something about it felt familiar. Could it be the 6th Fleet? "We can't confirm, but it's old. Possibly months old." Alex turned to Mara. "Change course. Head toward the signal. Cautiously. Let's keep formations tight." Hours passed as the fleet drifted deeper. Time seemed to move slower in the expanse. There was no light to track, no planetary rotations, just the endless dark. Then systems began to falter. First, it was the navigation panels, brief blackouts, random coordinate resets. Then internal comms started cutting out for seconds at a time. Nothing critical, but enough to unsettle the crew. In engineering, Chief Darren Hayes ran diagnostics for the 3rd time. Nothing made sense. "These systems are solid," he said. "No sign of faults. It's like something is interfering, but not from outside. It's like from inside the ship." Alex reviewed the reports. "Start logging crew psychological health," he said. "I want daily updates. Dreams. Behavior changes. Anything abnormal." Mara looked at him. "You think it's happening again?" "I think it never stopped." Later that night, Alex lay awake in his quarters, staring at the ceiling. The hum of the ship was steady, calming, but he couldn't sleep. His thoughts were full of static. He sat up and opened his personal console. The last message from his sister was still there. A short, cheerful video. She had smiled, told him not to worry, and said she'd bring back something interesting. Then she'd saluted and signed off. He watched it 3 times in silence. Then, just as he reached to close the console, his room lights flickered. Only for a second. And in that brief flash, he saw her. Standing at the far end of the room, in full uniform. Pale. Silent. He stood up fast, but she was gone. Just shadows again. He breathed deeply, heart racing, and rubbed his eyes. No alarms. No alerts. Just the endless, watching dark. The fleet moved slowly now. Each ship in the 13th Fleet kept close to the others, their lights dimmed and sensors scanning in all directions. No one spoke unless necessary. Everyone felt it, the change in the air, the weight pressing on them. The further they moved into the Virili expanse, the stranger things became. On board the UPD Valiant, Commander Alex Voss stood at the bridge, watching the dark void on the main screen. Nothing moved. No stars. No signals. Just space, too quiet, too still. Lieutenant Mara Quinn stepped beside him. "We've reached the source of the earlier signal. Anything out there?" "Just one object," she said, zooming in on the display. A single ship. Broken. No power signature. Item matches it as the UPD Crescent, part of the 3rd Fleet. Alex narrowed his eyes. "Bring us in. Keep weapons ready, but hold fire." The Crescent floated lifeless, half-spun in the darkness. Its hull was torn in places, blackened in others. It looked abandoned, forgotten. The docking team boarded carefully, weapons drawn, lights sweeping across the empty corridors. There were no bodies. That was the first thing they noticed. No blood, no signs of struggle, just empty uniforms. In the crew quarters, boots sat next to beds. Jackets were folded neatly. Meals were half-eaten, untouched for months. It was as if the crew had vanished mid-sentence. Alex watched the helmet feed from the bridge. "Where are they?" Mara asked quietly. "Not a single trace?" "Run full scans. Check life support logs. Check for escape pod launches." But the pods were still there. Locked in place. They hadn't left. In the command center of the Crescent, they found the logs. The ship's AI had failed weeks ago. Most data was corrupted. But a few audio files remained, strange, glitching clips with voices layered over one another. One log played clearly. A female voice, soft and terrified. It's in the ship. Not physically. Not like that. It listens. It waits until you're alone. It makes you see things. Hear things. I saw my mother yesterday. She's been dead for 20 years. She told me to open the airlock. Another voice cut in, deeper. We tried shutting it out. Turning off the comms. It didn't matter. It's not out there. It's inside. Inside everything. Then the log ended in static. Alex stared at the console. Pull everything we can. Then seal the ship. No one else boards it. The docking team returned. Silent. No one spoke on the way back. Everyone felt it. The cold that stuck to their skin. The strange silence that followed them. That night, the dreams got worse. Rafe Nolan woke screaming in his bunk, drenched in sweat. He clutched his sheets, gasping. The other crewmates stared at him. I was outside, he whispered. No suit. Just floating. But I wasn't dying. I was listening. And something whispered my name. Across the ship, more crew reported similar experiences. Dreams of loved ones long dead. Of strange voices calling from empty rooms. Of feeling watched even when alone. Chief Hayes found something else. In the engineering logs, 2 hours were missing. Simply gone. No power spike, no system error. Just empty data. We were flying blind, he said. None of our sensors noticed. But for 2 hours, our logs didn't record anything. That shouldn't be possible. Alex frowned. Did anything happen during that time? Hayes looked shaken. That's the problem. None of us remember. Then it happened. At exactly 0400 hours, one of the fleet's vessels, the UPD Marrow, vanished. No explosion. No distress signal. No warp signature. One moment it was there, flying formation like the rest. The next, it was gone. Like it had never existed. Recheck sensor data. Alex barked. They all show the same thing, Mara said. It's just gone. Alex slammed a hand on the console. Search the area. Every inch. I want answers. But there was nothing. No debris. No trail. Not even a disruption in space. The crew of the Valiant stared in silence. The fear was no longer hidden. People whispered now. They moved in groups. Some carried their weapons even off-duty. Whatever's out here, Mara said quietly, we're not ready for it. Alex looked out into the black screen. Jaw said. No, he said. But we came here for the truth. And we're going to find it. The fleet was breaking. Since the UPD Marrow vanished, fear had taken root across the 13th Fleet. It crept through every corridor, hung in the recycled air, and echoed in every whisper. No one felt safe. Even the most experienced officers kept their hands near their sidearms. Commander Alex Voss remained calm, at least on the surface. Inside, he felt the weight of every missing ship, every lost crew member, and the slow unraveling of the people he was trying to protect. He stood alone on the observation deck of the Valiant, watching the darkness beyond the glass. There were no stars anymore. Only black. In the medical bay, 2 crew members had been restrained. One screamed every time someone came close. The other just smiled and stared at the ceiling. We can't explain it, said Dr. Wren. Neurological scans show no damage. But they're not themselves. It's like something took hold of their minds. Alex looked at the restrained crewman, Ensign Park. His eyes were wide and unblinking. She spoke to me, Park whispered. She told me I'm not real. That none of us are. Alex didn't respond. He turned to Dr. Wren. Keep them monitored. If anyone else shows symptoms, report it immediately. Yes, Commander. The fleet moved closer to the signal's origin. Strange readings flooded the sensors. Space twisted unnaturally. Light bent in impossible directions. Gravity fluctuated in pulses, as if something massive and invisible shifted nearby. Then came the whispers. They weren't over the speakers or comms, but people began to hear them anyway. Crew across multiple ships reported the same thing. A voice, quiet and familiar, calling their name. I heard my wife, a security officer said. She died last year. But I heard her. She told me to open the airlock. Alex called an emergency meeting with all senior officers. This is no longer just a mission, he said. We're inside something we don't understand. Something that sees us, hears us, maybe even uses our memories against us. We should retreat, one captain said, before more ships vanish. And what happens when this thing follows us back? Alex asked. If it's intelligent, if it can get inside our systems, Our minds. Do you want to bring that home? Silence filled the room. No one had an answer. Then they found it. At the edge of the expanse's heart, the fleet's sensors picked up a rift. It floated like a scar in space, vast, spinning silent. It wasn't a black hole. It wasn't a wormhole. It was something else. A wound. The rift pulsed softly, like it was breathing. Alex stood at the bridge, staring at the image on the main screen. Is that where the signal's coming from? He asked. Yes, sir, Mara said. And not just the last signal. All of them. Every distress call from every lost fleet. They're being repeated from there. But why? He whispered. Before anyone could answer, an alert blared across the ship. Sir, yelled Renet Communications. The UPD Revenant. They've broken formation. They're turning toward the rift. Open comms. Alex shouted. Captain Hall, respond immediately. But the screen showed only static. Then, for a few seconds, the bridge filled with a soft voice. It was calm, familiar. We belong here. The Revenant surged ahead. Alex watched in horror as the ship moved toward the rift. Orders were shouted, intercept courses plotted, but it was too late. The Revenant reached the rift and disappeared without a sound. Not a ripple. Not a flash. Gone. The bridge fell silent again. Back in his quarters, Alex stared at a flickering console screen. Static moved across it, slow and quiet. Then a face appeared, his sister, Liana. She looked just as she did the day she left. Calm. Brave. I'm still here, she said softly. We're all still here. Alex reached out and touched the screen, but it went dark. He gathered the officers one last time. This thing doesn't just destroy. It absorbs. It takes pieces of us, our memories, and reflects them back. It's like it's studying us or feeding. So what now? Mara asked. We get what we came for, Alex said. We gather every reading, every signal, and we leave before it takes the rest of us. But if we leave, do we bring it with us? She asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he looked toward the main screen again. The rift was still there. Still pulsing. Still waiting. The crew was no longer the same. Across the 13th Fleet, people moved slower, spoke less, and avoided mirrors. Some wore noise-canceling headsets, hoping to shut out the whispers that had no source. Others refused to sleep. No one trusted what they saw or what they remembered. Commander Alex Voss knew they were running out of time. The rift still pulsed in the distance like a silent heartbeat in the void. The more they studied it, the less sense it made. Space around it bent at odd angles. Signals bounced back distorted, layered with fragments of voices and echoes from other times. One signal caught their attention. It came from the UPD Solace, part of the 6th Fleet, Alex's sister ship. The audio was broken, full of static, but one line came through clearly. This isn't space. It's something else. We're not supposed to be here. Alex listened to it again and again. Sir, Lieutenant Mara Quinn said, stepping beside him, we've pulled as much data as we can. Sensor logs, signal patterns, even gravitational distortions. If we leave now, we might be able to transmit it back to command before this thing takes us to. Alex didn't look at her. We came to find them. All 12 fleets. She hesitated. We can't save them. Silence. Then Alex finally said, prepare for evacuation protocols. Encrypt all data. Ready long-range relays. But I want one final scan. Deep field. Focused on the rift. Mara nodded and left. In engineering, Chief Hayes ran diagnostics again and again. He couldn't explain what he saw. Readings changed every second. The laws of physics twisted and bent. Time loops. Gravity spikes. It was like reality frayed the closer they got. I think we're inside something alive, he whispered to himself. The rift wasn't a place, it was a being. Or the edge of one. Later, Alex walked through the dim corridors of the Valiant. He passed by crew sitting quietly, their eyes hollow. One officer stood staring at a blank wall, whispering to it. Another hummed a lullaby and didn't respond when spoken to. Alex stopped in front of a reflective panel and saw himself. But the man staring back wasn't him. The uniform was right. The face almost matched. But the expression was wrong. The reflection smiled slowly. Alex stepped back, breathing hard. When he looked again, it was just his own reflection. At 0200 hours, alarms echoed across the fleet. Commander! Mara shouted from the bridge. The UPD Nova just powered weapons. They're targeting us. What? Why? No response. They're not answering hails. They've locked onto the UPD Mercy. Before Alex could respond, the Nova fired. 2 clean shots. The Mercy took a direct hit to its engines and went dark. No explosion, just silence and drifting lights. Give me control of their systems, Alex ordered. Now. I'm trying, Mara said, hands flying over controls. But they've locked us out. It's like something took over their AI. Then the Nova began turning toward the Valiant. Alex stared at the screen. He knew what he had to do. Disable the Nova. Use EMP torpedoes. I don't want to destroy them if I don't have to. 3 torpedoes launched. 2 hit their mark. The Nova's system shut down instantly, lights fading as it drifted to a stop. No one on board responded. The fleet was falling apart. If they stayed any longer, there would be nothing left to bring home. Alex stood before the command crew. We're leaving, he said. Now, prep the long-range relay. Transmit everything we've gathered to command. Secure the ship. Plot the fastest course out of this zone. Mara nodded. In the rift. Alex glanced at the screen. The rift pulsed once more. He felt like it was watching them. We leave it behind, he said. If it lets us go. As the fleet turned away, engines igniting, the stars slowly began to reappear on the sensors. Space felt more normal again, more real. The whispers faded, the pressure lifted. But no one spoke. Too many were lost. Too much had been taken. Back on the Valiant, Alex sat alone in his quarters. His console screen flickered. Then a face appeared. Liana. Her voice was soft. You saw it, she said. You felt it. Alex stared. Where are you? She smiled faintly. Still here. And then the screen went black. The journey out of the Virili expanse was not smooth. Though the fleet had turned back, something still clung to them, like static, like memory. Systems functioned, but every screen flickered now and then. People spoke in hushed voices, careful not to name what they had seen. And some, even while awake, seemed trapped in something else entirely. The UPD Valiant led the remaining ships. Of the original 10, only 5 remained. 2 had vanished. 1 was destroyed. 2 had been disabled and left behind when they stopped responding. Alex Voss knew this wasn't a victory. It was survival, barely. He stood in the command room, watching as familiar stars slowly returned to view. Real stars. Real space. We've cleared the anomaly zone, Mara Quinn said. Her voice was flat, tired. Long-range systems are stabilizing. Full signal strength restored. The data packets were transmitted to command. Alex nodded. And the crew? Medical bay is full. Some stable, some still locked in hallucinations. No new incidents since we left the expanse. But people are different, sir. We all are. She didn't need to explain further. Alex understood. The Valiant docked at Epsilon Station 3 days later. News of their return spread quickly, but the station stayed quiet. No celebrations. No honors. Only silence, as if everyone already knew what the 13th Fleet had been through. The survivors were isolated for debriefing and testing. Medical teams examined their minds, their nervous systems, their memories. Scientists studied the data, trying to understand the rift, the space around it, and the strange signals that seemed to echo even now, faint and repeating. Alex was called in for high-level debriefing. He sat across from Admiral Soren, the same woman who had sent him out. She looked older now. Weirya. You brought back data, she said. And half a fleet. That's more than anyone before you. Alex didn't respond. We've analyzed the transmissions, she continued. There are patterns we can't explain. Words and sounds buried deep in the signal. Shapes and gravitational readings that shouldn't exist. Some think it's not just space, but something alive. Something that remembers. Alex finally spoke. It doesn't kill like we do. It erases. Twists. It's not about war. It's about understanding us. By breaking us. Soren studied him. Do you believe it will follow us? He paused. I don't think it has to. It's already here, in our heads. She sat back in her chair, silent. We're grounding you, she said at last. For now. Observation. Psychological review. He nodded. Expected. She stood, walked to the window. You saw something no one should. That kind of knowledge changes people. Alex looked at the floor. I just want to know if any part of my sister is still out there. Soren glanced over her shoulder. And if she is? He didn't answer. Weeks passed. The crew was scattered. Some retired. Some stayed under medical care. Others returned to duty, though not all were stable. Alex remained on Epsilon Station, mostly alone. He spent his days in silence, his nights watching the stars. He rarely dreamed now. Or if he did, he never remembered. One evening, he received a message. Unmarked. Encrypted. He opened it. Static, then a voice clear, calm. You brought something back. Then silence. His console screen flickered once more, just for a second. He saw her again, Liana. Not smiling, just watching. Then darkness. Later, Alex stood at the wide observation window of the station. Below him, ships moved slowly through docking lanes. Beyond, the stars glimmered like tiny lights, beautiful, distant, safe. But he didn't feel safe. He felt watched. The whispers were gone, but their memory stayed. The rift still pulsed in his mind. The signals they brought back continued to play in classified labs. The universe was bigger than they thought, and far more dangerous. He closed his eyes. "We sent 12 fleets," he whispered. Then he opened them. "And I came back."